If somebody says there's an NLP space race going on, that will have an impact on the language industry.
Previously, all Sony localization was being outsourced to third parties, but now Sony's going to have the option of using Deluxe.
And welcome to Slator Pod 66, a friendly hello from Zurich.
Hello from London.
Hey, so today we have no guest. How could that happen? No, but there's a good reason for it. Because we've been super busy lining up an amazing set of guests for the next few weeks. Mm-hmm. So, not going to give any spoilers here, but it's going to be quite the lineup for the next 5 weeks. So stay tuned. Quite excited. So we have the next 4 or 5 slots confirmed, which is somewhat unusual. But yeah, today, no guest, but a lot of good things to talk about. And first, thanks for everybody who's following us on LinkedIn. We got 20,000 followers now.
Cool.
So Andrew thought to do a flash sale, which actually, so he wanted to do.
I saw that. Yeah, it's like, whoa.
Yeah. And
bargain.
Bargain, 20%, one day. Some people took advantage of it. That was great. And yeah, for SlatorCon Remote, another 1 week to register. So, for the early bird. So go get the early bird. Full lineup of sponsors and partners. We got We Localize, Blend, and Lil is now the networking sponsor. We also have like 4 exhibition booths. What's the plural of booth?
Booths.
I can't pronounce that. That's
a strange one.
And an S.
Booths. Yeah.
I can't do that. Yeah, that's too much.
I can barely say it. So yeah, don't feel too bad.
Yeah, the TH is too much for any German speaker. So, hey, I was on another podcast that came out this week with Kimon Funtukidis, our very first guest. So he returned to favor, and Richard Lucas, his business partner. So Kimon, Argus Multilingual founder and chairman. He's doing with his business partner Richard Lucas. I think both are still based in Poland primarily, and they're doing an entrepreneurship and leadership podcast. So I was guest. That was great. Not finally, but it was interesting to be on the other side of the interview table. So for anybody who needs more podcasting from our side, go and check this out. It's a very different discussion, of course, than what we do here. Esther, what are we going to talk about today? What's on the agenda?
Well, on the agenda today is top performing LSPs among the listed LSPs for Q1. A news that MotionPoint, the US-based company, has got private equity investment. And some more M&A and funding news. We had Deluxe, a media localization company who has acquired a unit of a different company. And Bloomberg, some comment from Bloomberg talking about dubbing specifically in the US.
There you go. So we got stock market news, investment news, and media localization news.
Yep.
But first, I got a new theory, Esther.
Let's hear
it. The SuperCycle. Well, I'm not going to talk fully through it, but basically it's something I'm going to be presenting at the first at EU ATC, the T Update conference on April 16th. So that's next week. Oh my God, that's right around the corner. And then, of course, it's SlatorCon as well. So I call it the SuperCycle. I think we're heading into quite an exciting time for the industry in the next 3 to 5 years. I mean, there's just so much going on the technology side.
But even more exciting than the past 3 to 5 years.
Yes. Because now these things are actually getting into production. People have rebuilt their supply chains, whatever you call it, right? I mean, these models are getting mature. The workflows have been built. So I think it's extremely exciting, and the demand just goes up and up and up. I mean, we've just so many data points around that. I mean, just look at DeepL's traffic. I mean, there's just an enormous amount of demand for localization, for translation, for language services, and this whole kind of new revolution around natural language processes is going to make the scene a lot more exciting. Obviously, there's going to be losers. the people that can't, or companies that can't keep up, but there's an entirely new crop of companies that's going to come up, or of course existing players that know how to adapt. So yeah, I'll be talking about that. I named it the SuperCycle. So I think I got that from some crypto news outlet. So it's something I stole, but I think it fits well to the language industry as well. Going to the existing ecosystem of more established players that are listed on the stock exchange, and so give us always something to talk about. We did a bit of a comparison how they fared this year to date. It's a handful of companies, about 8 companies. So who's number one this year?
So year to date from January 2021, best performing is Zoo Digital.
Yay.
Yes. Yay. And I think we talked about this last week. They recently raised $10 million in a share placement last week, I think. But I can't see the dates, unfortunately. But it looks like there was a spike around sort of like early February or something. I don't know what that was reacting to.
Probably
but
results.
So they're up.
I'm sure. Yeah, there was
probably
some results.
Or I think it was maybe their sort of updated forecast or something. Anyway, they're about 60-70% ahead of where they were at the beginning of the year. So that's pretty good. Pretty good so far.
70% this year. That's a good investment. So if I had put $100 in at the beginning of the year, I'd have 170 now. So that's not bad. Rosetta is number 2, the Japanese company, machine translation company that translates their financial results using their own machine translation, and that has banned staff from speaking any foreign language at the office.
Anything other than their native language. Yeah.
Anything other than their native language.
Yeah. What you said.
So they're up roughly 30%. Honyaku Center, the Japanese one, is up 20%. RWS is up marginally, maybe like 15%. And then Straker is roughly even, roughly flat for the year. Keyword Studios down a little bit. AI Media down quite strongly, like at 20%. And Appen's down like 30%. Now,
they've fallen a fair amount, haven't they, Appen?
Oh, they've fallen 50%. There's now half, roughly half, maybe even more from the peak in the middle of last year. And that's just, I mean, we spoke about it before, probably because a lot of competition, probably the growth wasn't as fast as investors had priced in. But again, for the broader language industry, this is not, I mean, it's not a major bellwether. It's basically, I mean, they're active in a very different business. It's still interesting to track, of course, because the data for AI is a market for the industry. Also, if you look at the chart since 2020, the beginning of 2020, so what we just mentioned before was more like year to date, or was year to date. And if you look further back, Zoo Digital is up as well. It's basically the top performer. Keywords is a lot stronger though. So Zoo and Keywords, so media and gaming, right? Yeah. Despite everything, and well, not despite everything in the gaming space, that didn't take a single hit. But the media space obviously was struggling with all those production stops. So Zoo, still one of the beneficiaries because of the remote dubbing. From really traditional LSPs, RWS, flat both year to date, or roughly flat, and flat even since 2020. So, but of course, they absorbed the entirety of SDL.
That's right. Yeah.
Look, generally, the last, year or so, no outperformance by the bigger LSPs. I think that was somewhat different in 2017, 2018, if I'm correct. So let's see. They're probably also a bit under pressure in the market's view from a lot of these kind of exciting new startups that are getting funded and that are obviously competing with them now. So congrats to Zoo. They had this massive spike back in 2017 or 18, I think. Then kind of fell a little bit, and now they're back, and it's good.
But it's really been this year. I mean, they also, I think, had quite a tough stock-wise, they had a sort of a tough time, obviously, in 2020. They dipped like everybody else in March and kind of recovered somewhat towards the end, like to the end of the year. But it's really in 2021 that we've seen this spike up to sort of 60-70%. So
and Straker is also quite flat, and AI media is interesting. I mean, we spoke about them.
Yeah.
Captioning, subtitling, etc. Since they went IPO, they went IPO. Hang on, let me just look at
July. I think it was July or September 2020.
Yeah, and now they're down 40%. So they are still. I mean, they're not profitable. So it looks like investors probably would have expected a bit of a better performance on the financial results, and now they haven't delivered yet, and so they're down quite heavily. Let's see. They're probably going to announce some results somewhat soon. All right, moving to MotionPoint, to beautiful Florida, where everyone seems to be going these days. Everyone wants to go to Miami. Miami has opened up. All the VCs are going there. We're not. We're staying here.
Not yet.
Staying here forever. Wait, I guess you guys can maybe travel somewhat soon.
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we shall see.
Who's in Florida? MotionPoint. So MotionPoint is based in Coconut Creek, Florida, if I remember correctly, and they got an investment
delightful.
by, definitely. Delightful Coconut Creek in Florida. So MotionPoint got an investment from major investment from a private equity firm called Lightview Capital, based in maybe slightly less delightful New Jersey. Though I have to admit, I've never been to New Jersey. And so MotionPoint's kind of it's a leading website localization platform, subscription SaaS, kind of B2B and tech-enabled service. So, they have the subscription element, they have the tech-enabled service, and it's very large. How large are they? I think they just did disclose some figures to us, right?
Yeah, they told us they were around $50 million in revenues in 2020, and that they have about 150 full-time employees, so pretty sizable.
Got it. So 150 staff for 50 million kind of indicates quite heavy tech business. I think if you're 50 million on a service side, you'd be too lightly staffed. Yeah. So that kind of, again, indication that they're quite techy and subscription SaaS based. So the whole thing is based around the proxy technology that was very. A lot of people talked about it, I think, when around 2014, 15, maybe even a little bit earlier. Yeah. But MotionPoint is really the most advanced, or definitely among the most advanced players in this space, website proxy, right? So it's if you have a heavy-duty website, you can translate it, or MotionPoint can translate it quite well, very smoothly for you. So the CEO, Will Fleming, told us that Lightview, coupled with management, have a controlling interest in the company. And Lightview, they're focused on these, what they call lower middle market businesses, B2B services businesses. Although I think if you take kind of the technical definition of lower middle market, that would be like companies up to 50 million in revenues. And I mean, Lightview is probably more heading into the middle market segment. So they said, look, MotionPoint ticked all the boxes. They're profitable. They're growing. They got this tech-enabled service to it, and strong recurring revenue, high customer retention. Once you select the provider and you go deep, you kind of select them. It's very sticky, I'd assume.
Super sticky, yeah. I think that was one of sort of the like people who are detractors of this style of website localization point out that is one of the problems. So that's what they would highlight to customers as being, once you've gone with a provider, it's really difficult to switch. But obviously from MotionPoint's perspective, that's great because customers stay with them. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. So, they did say they have the tech-enabled service. They have the TMS part of it, end-to-end translation. They also partner with LSPs for the service. They said they partner with LSPs for the translation service, and the team of engineers works to maintain, quote-unquote, the look and feel of the translated sites as the origin sites evolve. I mean, you're updating constantly your origin sites, and then MotionPoint kind of takes the heavy lifting off your shoulders and localizes it in an agile manner. So they also mentioned that they're going to be doing some M&A as part of the strategy now, or they're looking at M&A potentially. So certainly an interesting transaction. I'd expect to hear a lot more from MotionPoint going forward. So far within kind of the language industry, kind of the narrow language industry, they've been relatively under the radar, I suppose. But now with this one, they may.
Has it all been sort of organic growth to 50 mil as well? I don't think they've done much in the way of acquisitions, as far as I know.
Yeah, I don't remember. No, nothing that comes up for me. More M&A, but this time in the media space and kind of adjacent though. But since the company that bought is a key player in Media Lock, what are we talking about, Esther?
Yeah, I guess adjacent, but not, depending on what level you're looking at this. But we've got Deluxe, who is a massive name really in the media and entertainment space. It's, among other things, a media localization provider. They've acquired a division of Sony Electronics called New Media Solutions, or NMS for short. So this was a deal that closed the 31st of March. It's really a technology-based acquisition, I suppose. So Sony NMS is sort of a workflow platform. They kind of enable digital supply chain management, which is quite in line with what Deluxe is doing. So I mean, Deluxe is end-to-end media management, supply chain management, and including sort of cinema, including distribution, and in terms of what we're interested in, including localization. I mean, I think there are a couple of things that are interesting here. Deluxe does have a sizable localization segment in providing subtitling and dubbing already. This, I think one comment that came out from the Sony side was from Sony's SVP of M&A and corporate development, saying, this is an important opportunity for Sony Pictures to extend our partnership and work even closer with a key supplier. So this is Sony, which is effectively a client of Deluxe previously.
Hang on, this is the M&A and corporate dev person from Sony?
From Sony, yeah. So they obviously still plan to work alongside Deluxe, Deluxe having been a key supplier of Sony. This is Sony Pictures Entertainment.
So that's the seller, huh? Interesting.
That's the seller saying, actually, you know what, this is going to bring benefits for us as well. And when we spoke to the COO of Deluxe, Warren Stein, he was telling us a bit about why it might bring benefits to Sony as well. So what he said was that, well, Sony, for their part, don't have any localization capabilities in-house. So previously, all Sony localization was being outsourced to third parties. But now Sony's going to have the option of using Deluxe's end-to-end workflow, which obviously includes localization, like we've said. So it's kind of it's maybe an atypical acquisition, because I mean, what we more commonly see in the market is, especially media localization, is either consolidation, i.e. Iuno buying BTI, buying SDI, or this kind of, well, still consolidation, but buying up a lot of smaller recording and dubbing studios, like we saw Transperfect do in 2019. Like I think VSI recently bought a dubbing studio in Brazil as well. So this is technology, and it's buying from a client, or buying from a media production house.
You know what we should do? We should bring like a kind of a more media supply chain expert on the pod at some point to just kind of walk us through the pre-localization and the post-localization stages of this, because this is, and how it fits together. So, because also when we spoke to Iuno, they also mentioned they're kind of going broader, right, and adding all these other components. So it would be interesting to understand how big is Deluxe, including some of these other businesses. Do we know?
Yeah. So, well, they didn't share what revenues for 2020 are, but they told us they're forecasting revenues of more than $400 million in 2021.
That's other stuff than localization, right?
That's exactly that's the entire company, and they said that would be strong growth from 2020.
Okay, well, they may get busier as Americans consume more, well, what do you call it? Non-American entertainment content. So there was
non-English original.
Non-English, imagine. But so what was that story about? You picked up something on Bloomberg around like that dubbing is really kind of that Americans are embracing dubbing. What was that about?
Yeah, I can't remember where this came from, but I think I stumbled across it over the Easter weekend. So it was a nice, interesting read there from Bloomberg. It was talking about, streaming services pushing programming that's coming from countries other than the US around the world, and that because of that, voice acting is becoming a growing industry. And that one quote I liked was, "Even Americans are embracing dubbing," which I thought was quite funny. But they sort of use Netflix and one particular program on Netflix, the Lupin, the French one, I think we might have talked about before, as a bit of a case study. They were saying Lupin is the first French show to crack Netflix's top 10 list in the US. I think it might have been Chris Fettner who was talking about this. I don't remember, maybe something else. But and he was the article was saying that Lupin had been in the top 10. This is in February in 12 countries, including Austria, Croatia, Lebanon, Nigeria, and Uruguay. And 86, most people who watched the show on Netflix, most people who watched Lupin were watching it using subtitling or dubbing. Yeah. So only 14% presumably watched it in French with no subtitling, no dubbing.
I got to say, that's not a perfect indicator, though, because currently I'm watching a German show, and I got subtitles on. I don't even know why. I think there's like one. No, actually, I remember. There's one character who's kind of hard to understand, and maybe it's the acoustics in my living room or something. I just
right.
It's kind of a failsafe. Like I just have it on, and it's somehow more convenient. But yeah, it's in German.
Yeah.
So. Anyways.
Wait, so you're saying that's not indicative of the fact that dubbing is more popular in the US now?
No. I mean, basically what they're saying here is 86% of the people who watched Lupin have subtitles or dubbing on, kind of implying that they're non-native French speakers. My point here is that even if you are a native French speaker, maybe you still have subtitles on. You're not going to watch the dubbed version, of course.
It doesn't matter. I mean, either way, like the demand is still there, you know. Sometimes I put subtitles on when I'm drying my hair and I want to watch something in English. So there's definitely more than one use case for putting on subtitles or closed captions, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's this lovely quote that Brian Pearson, VP at Netflix, said, sometimes it's a surprise to folks in Hollywood, but only about 5% of the world's population speaks English natively. Yeah.
Shocker.
That's true.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah, but I think when it comes to the US in particular, they were saying that the US in the past maybe has shunned foreign language programming. At what level that is, I'm not sure. I don't know if it's sort of audiences or whether it's kind of companies. But they were saying that now, it's an interesting statistic from Netflix, that the average US viewer watches 3 times as much dubbed content as they did in 2018. And that voiceover is now outpacing subtitles as subscribers' preferred way of watching foreign language programs, apparently.
Hang on. Voiceovers now outpace subtitles as subscribers' preferred way to watch. Well, what kind of programs then? That's like documentaries or no?
Just on the whole.
Voiceover would be like including dubbing.
I would think so. Yeah, they didn't really specify in the article, but I assume it also means dubbing. Yeah.
All right. That's it from the media front. Just a quick closer here that maybe supposed to tie in with my SuperCycle excitement here. And again, I'm so sorry to talk about this again. Don't tune out. GPT-3 update. There was an article in what is it? A publication called Singularity Hub. So they say now there's over 300 apps and counting already using, apps or companies, right? Using GPT-3, that natural language process model. And that the system, the algorithm is generating, and now wait for that, 4.5 billion words a day. And so remember when we did that test on, I think it was Copy AI?
Yeah, a
Maybe
couple
they're
of weeks
also
ago, last week maybe.
yeah. So they also run on GPT-3. So that includes the words that I generated there. So a small part of the 4.5 billion words. And then helpfully, Singularity Hub is giving us kind of some context to that. So they're saying that each month users publish around 70 million posts on WordPress. That's including Slator because we're also on WordPress, which is like 30% of the internet roughly in terms of the CMS usage. Anyway, long story short, they're saying WordPress users generate about 1.8 billion words a day on WordPress on the entire internet. So roughly three times, like GPT-3 already generates 3 times more words than all the WordPress users combined. That is that's a lot. That is a lot. So and then there's also this whole, I don't even want to go into it because I don't understand it, but there's this kind of open source thing around GPT, like it's called GPT Neo. So there's all of these other kind of NLP offshoots going on. And Alexander Rush at Cornell University, he said there's a tremendous excitement right now for open source NLP and producing useful models outside of big tech companies. And then, quote unquote, there's something akin to an NLP space race going on.
Yeah.
And, we in the language industry, we can dismiss this as like Florian just going off on some random tech thing because he doesn't have to manage projects every day.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if somebody says there's an NLP space race going on, that will have an impact on the language industry. It's natural language processing space race, millions and millions and maybe even billions invested, and hundreds and hundreds of super smart people starting company and researching this. So yeah, you really want to keep tabs on that.
Do you know what? So I did a panel discussion at XTRF Summit last week, and there was a question from the audience about how big an impact do you think GPT-3 is going to have? So either they've been listening to you, or
it's slowly.
But either way, people are asking the question. I think at least one person is thinking about that.
People should be building on it.
Us.
People should be building on it. I'm sure there's something you can do with this. So next level frontier stuff, but definitely something to keep more than one eye on. Cool. All right, that's it for today. Again, super excited about next week's guest, which we'll learn about next week. So stay tuned. Take care, guys.